Microsoft Windows is dead. Long live Microsoft OS. Microsoft OS 11. Now, I don't have any special knowledge or any special information, but I do know in 2015, Satya Nadella said Windows 10 is the last version of Windows. Now, we have a Windows Microsoft event coming up June 24th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, the GIF, the picture, or the GIF, however you saw it, has light coming through a window, and it appears to make an 11 on the surface in front of it. Now, Microsoft is playing around with 11, but would they really renege and go back on Microsoft Windows 10 being the last version? I highly doubt it, because it's the same CEO that's there right now. I said they just call it Microsoft OS 11, and then they can move on from there, because it's easier for people to understand it, easier for people to understand the updates. Because the way they had it before with Windows 10, it's been around for some time. These updates have either numerical values to separate the differences and sometimes code names. And we assume the next version of Windows is going to be Sun Valley, but maybe it won't be a version of Windows being named Windows. And when you start getting rid of the names, it's hard to differentiate and sell a product. I mean, people kind of want to be sold a product in this manner and know what the difference is. They don't want to see Windows 10 for 15 years and saying, hey, if it's Windows 10 from back in the day, why want to be still Windows 10 now? That clear, defined separation of certain updates and whatever those system requirements are allows it to be easier for the consumer. And that's important. And even for the people that are kind of techie, it's like, hey, there's this visual difference in the naming, how it's named, even if it's the same naming convention, be it Windows, but Windows, whatever, the higher number or the next name, saying, hey, okay, we know this is a newer version. We know we need to get this. Here's a feature list. Here's the graphical user interface and what have you. Now, even though for like the super nerd techie thing, it's still Windows NT, the same Windows NT from the 90s, just the updated kernels and the new NT kernel. And I assume if it's a Windows 11 or Microsoft OS 11, that's NT version 11. Windows 10 is NT 10. And before, Windows used to just call it Windows NT, whatever that number was, 4.0, if you will. But obviously they got away from that as a millennium approach, and you had the Windows 2000, and then you merged it into the XP Home and Professional and things of that nature as Windows 9X was killed off, which was based on MS-DOS. But yeah, so I'm going with, as speculation, Microsoft OS 11. That's how I feel about it. Because that's the way you can keep your integrity in your word from before, saying, hey, this is the last version of Windows. And as a step moving forward, since Microsoft wants to be across many devices, and they do have tried it in the past, some successful, some not, and essentially came down to embedded systems, desktops, and laptops. Obviously, they struggle on phones, struggle with CE, Windows CE, those little small devices. But obviously, they do have Windows version of it on the Xboxes, if you will. So just why not just call it Microsoft OS that's scalable across many devices? Because that's what they say with the Xbox. Say, hey, this is a version of Windows, and it's just made and tailored for this device being the Xbox, right? So yeah, just call it Microsoft OS 11. That's my prediction. And we'll see what happens as we get closer to June 24th or as June 24th arrives. But I think they're teasing us to some degree, even though I think 11 will be incorporated in it. But I think they'll get rid of the name Windows. Just call it Microsoft OS. Works on main devices. That's my take. Iceberg Jim out. Deuces.